So it's the month of May, and we are continuing our journey through 1 Corinthians. And this past Sunday, we looked at really one of the most famous chapters of the whole Bible, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, often called the love chapter. If I can speak in human tongues with great skill, the voice of angels, if I have faith so strong that I can move mountains, if I have generosity such that I would give away everything I have, but I don't have love, it amounts to nothing. This is Paul's chapter where he talks about the power of love. Now, on Sunday, we talked about the fact that this chapter is sometimes associated with weddings, because when we think of love, we naturally think of romance and the husband-wife connection, all those important things. And this chapter has been used at weddings, but if you look at the context of 1 Corinthians, it's really not about weddings at all. In fact, it's a little bit more like the song we sang on Sunday, "They'll know we are Christians by our love." You really understand chapter 13 by going back to chapter 12, where Paul talks about the various spiritual gifts and how all the many spiritual gifts are great, but that they're not given to everyone, that the body needs all the gifts working together. And then near the end of chapter 12, he has this very powerful message. He says, now I'm going to show you a more excellent way. Strive for the greater things. And those greater things are the three things mentioned in the chapter: faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. We also talked about the fact that in the King James Version, there's a very interesting translation of that chapter, and in fact, the word love is never used in the chapter. In the King James Version, it's charity. That seems very odd, because to us, charity sounds like the way you give a handout to somebody who's down and out, maybe give them a $5 bill so they can have something to eat or fill up their car with gasoline, something like that. So why would charity be greater than faith and hope? And my contention, the way to understand that is perhaps a little easier if we put the notion of donations to the poor out of our mind for a minute. And again, because really he was talking about how the Christians worked with each other and how they treated one another. And if we think about the words charitable and uncharitable, being charitable, thinking the best of someone, being uncharitable, and having words or actions that demean other people. That's the kind of love we're talking about. If you think of all the examples that are lifted up in chapter 13, the love chapter, they all fit with that idea of being charitable. What are some of the positives? What is love? Love is patient. Love is kind. Love rejoices in the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. That's being charitable. And then the negative examples there too. What love is not. Love is not envious, not boastful or arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. Love is not irritable. Love is not resentful. Love does not rejoice in wrong. Those are the negative examples. That's what it means to be uncharitable. And so there's a huge challenge for us here. And it's important for each of us, especially within the body of Christ, to make sure that Paul's message becomes so clear to us, which is really all the exciting, amazing, religious and spiritual things that we might take pride in. Paul is saying without love, they really mean nothing. It's not that they mean 80%, it's that they mean zero. They mean absolutely nothing. I can be a great preacher. I can do great wonders. I can understand the Bible and answer every Bible question, but without love, not much. Doesn't mean much. Well, there's a couple of videos I want to share in a link in the comments that you might want to look at. One was a video of a news story that we shared. We actually showed this in the worship service, and it's an amazing example of the power of love in a real life circumstance, one that will touch your heart. And the second video link I'm going to give to you is that amazing bluegrass song that I found literally on Sunday morning as I was getting ready for the worship service, and we quoted part of it, but you'll get to hear that group sing that bluegrass song, which talks a little bit about when we try to influence other people, but it backfires because of the way they look at us. That's exactly what we're talking about here. They'll know we are Christians by our love, the kind of love that we show and share for each other, the charitable way in which we treat each other and talk about each other. That's the high calling of being followers of Jesus. Those are my afterthoughts for today.